Well, hello, traders and investors. I'm LA Little. This is your daily NeoTA wrap. We're taking a look at these markets. We're doing it from a neoclassical perspective, which is supply and demand on the charts, looking at supply zones, demand zones, using that information to decide what should happen, seeing what the test actually does, and then making decisions based off of that. That's tape reading, folks. That's what you have to do if you're going to stay on the right side of the market. I don't care about all those other signals and various patterns that people talk about. It really comes down to supply and demand in the end. I do the show 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday, broadcast at before 10 o'clock Eastern Time. It's archived on YouTube under the channel LA Little. And if you want to subscribe, just reach up in the right-hand corner and do so. Anytime I push public content, you get a notification as far as these markets and what happened. Here's the ending numbers. Yesterday you had a couple of the sectors starting to give hints that, a little bit of downside action was coming. Tonight you got more of them, but that doesn't stop the indexes. In particular, doesn't stop the tech sector. NASDAQ index, 0.47, almost 0.5% higher. That pulls the S&P to within a hair of a new high. Also, the NASDAQ itself, just within a whisper itself. You've got gold and silver rising. The only thing that fell today was oil and overseas. So if we take a look at the indexes, let's start here with the S&P. So the S&P drives and drives, almost gets to the high. It's within, like 50 cents of the high. And that's basically where it closes. Tomorrow it's going to attack the highs, and after this push up, as it's done with volume kind of tailing off here, it's going to be a chore to get over that high. You're still hitting this, right? Comparatively, you're hitting it with just about the same amount of volume. So there's really not much volume drop off, just slightly. But you've had this big run off the big drop. Another one of those famous V-shaped reversals taking place here again. And that has been the story for years and years now. Ever since the QE really came into effect. I mean, you used to see it before then, but not on such a consistent basis where there was always a floor underneath the market, or at least seemingly a floor. If you look at the NASDAQ itself, the NASDAQ doing the same sort of V shape, not quite as strong, not at the highs yet. So this is the broader technology sector, not as strong. NDX, however, just makes a new high. Volume tailing off, new highs. Gets over it, stays over it, that's a new high. Russell gets over back under yesterday after a pretty good move, right? And the Russell has started down every day and just headed straight up. Well, today, same thing, except for it gives up a little bit more, doesn't under over, but has more volume, which says it can do it again. And so there's absolutely nothing in these indexes, again, nothing, saying that this market can't continue to rise. Now, we talked about a couple of areas yesterday, sector-wise, that were showing bearish reversals, and those were the engulfings that took place. The ITB was the most profound one. That one did head lower, but by the end of the day, along with the rest of the market, that spiked back up, right? It's a little under over. Again, this one can rise a little bit more tomorrow, but it's probably going to work its way lower. The other one that I believe was the discretionary, if I remember right, also had that bearish engulfing, not as wide. That one did a sideways bar, didn't really give anything up. So it's still sitting there. Those signals, those are candlestick signals. They give, most of the time, give you one bar sideways to down if you got a bearish engulfing, sideways to up if it's bullish. A lot of times they can be pretty good signals. In a bull market like this one, you need a club. You got to club these things down because they're not going to go down easy. And tonight you got some more subtle signals that things aren't quite right. Here's a swing point high. You get over it, you get back under it. I mean, you have more volume on that one. On this one over here, volume was 12. You did a little less than 7, almost 8. So you're doing less volume on the test. You can draw them in and see it. The volume's a little bit easier here. So you can just pull it across. You can see what kind of volume differences you have as you do that test. So when you go over something like that, You go back under it, you have a lot less volume. That's a test failure. That says you should try to retrace. That's the XLI, which has been one of the big sectors that has driven this market. Another one is the SOX. Top of the SOX here, 145.87. Today it gets to 89, gets over. Got less volume, slightly less volume, not a lot. 355 versus 339. That also is a test failure. It's close enough to where you could say, hey, they can try it again. It's also a doji. Subtle signals, folks, but eventually they matter. Right now, indexes don't care. INDX is driving this market and is driving it higher. Tomorrow you're going to see a test on the S&P. If that test on the S&P can get higher and stay higher, well, then you can go higher again. If you get the failure, and especially if you get the failure there and you get it on the Russell too, and the Russell again today was the only one that did close lower, that test failure would give you the ability to come back. And what you'd want to see if you're bearish is you want to see this thing get over back under less volume. Right now, it's close enough to where you suspect the volume is going to be about the same. You might have a little bit less volume on a Thursday. So that's the setup. At this point, indexes continue to point north. They're not giving you any signals yet. You got subtle signals in some of the sectors, but still, it's going to take a lot more than subtle signals to turn a bull market. And this, on any other time frame you look in, is a bull market, folks. Hasn't changed. That's it for tonight. Have yourself a great one. Take care. I will see you next time. Good night.